Is the situation for Russia in Verbove a lot worse than the MOD is letting on? And is Ukraine pushing in all directions? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's September 25th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, there hasn't really been an update in the control map since last we checked. And as you can see, right, Ukraine expanding its control in this area, right, having broken through the second layer of the Sotovikin line. We're also seeing, of course, some rumors that they are in the village of Verbove here. You can see it's a long, almost 5 kilometer long village. If you start from this point and take it all the way to the last, like, kind of cut there. But there's some rumors that it actually even is further longer than that, right? Almost 5 kilometers in total length, right? So it's not going to be an easy nut to crack. But if Ukraine can crack it, then it's going to be a real nightmare for all the Russian forces stuck here in this salient. It's going to be a nightmare for Russian forces relying on this Sotovikin line in Novoprokopivka. So if Ukraine can take Verbove, it's going to flip the script, right? Right now, you can see this is a Ukrainian salient taking fire on all sides, basically, from Russian forces. But Russian forces haven't really been able to roll it back. And if Ukraine can hold Verbove, suddenly it's going to go from a Ukrainian-controlled salient that's vulnerable to a lot of Russian forces are going to become more vulnerable, especially the ones, the 22nd, the 108th, the 56th, and to a lesser extent, it's just a bars unit. I think it's reinforcing all of them. But these 3 units here, defending Novoprokopivka, they are going to find themselves with Ukrainian forces in front of them, on their west and to their south. It's going to be a huge disaster if Ukraine ends up seizing Verbove. We're looking over at the combat map. You can see reports are very sparse, right? Ukraine has been very quiet about making official pronouncements about what is happening on the front lines. But when we go over to X, right, Twitter, the rumor mill, you can see things are, the rumors are starting to fly about Verbove, and even Russian sources finding themselves increasingly admitting that things aren't looking so good for them. Right? They are reporting that Ukrainian forces are operating in and around Verbove, not in and around, in Verbove on September 22nd, and have continued to attack the settlement with armored vehicles as of September 24th. Russian sources indicate that Ukrainian forces are operating to Verbove's north as well. This is from the Institute for the Study of War. You can see here, right, this depicts Ukrainian forces as controlling just the northern outskirts of Verbove, but that there is purportedly some level of operation by Ukrainian forces much deeper into the town itself. Russian sources have also been expressing concern about potentially the 56th getting encircled, right? What we just talked about, in being placed in grave danger, especially if the Ukrainians end up on their rear. You can see here is a Russian source that is supposedly close to the 56th. They said there's less than 7 kilometers left before complete encirclement of the 56th Airborne Regiment, 7th Airborne Regiment. The commander is not authorized to make any decision. He rushes about like a monkey in a cage. If in the next 10 hours there's no decision to withdraw the 56th, the pre-prepared positions, the 56th will end up in a cauldron. And what they're describing, of course, as we talked about, the 56th holding out right here, the 7 kilometers they're talking about is likely these salients here. The fact that they say, oh, there's less than 7 kilometers left, to me is indicative of the fact that 7 kilometers is, first off, a fairly large window, but it indicates that the encirclement window may be a lot narrower than this is depicting, right? And it's 7 kilometers, right, is going to be like, let's try to get this here, right? So this is 7 kilometers. So it's hard to look at this. It's the entire length, basically, of the entire Ukrainian salient. So I say this because keep perspective. 7 kilometers is a lot of room to maneuver, to conduct a retreat. Now, looking at the terrain, you see there's not a lot of roadways out of here. So if they want to retreat south, right, they're going to have to do so through, basically, if they want to move any of their people, it has to happen through Verbove. They may be able to retreat through this Pavlisk, and then maybe get themselves to Tarasivka. But you see how difficult it would be to retreat from here, and to collapse these positions and then work their way to a fighting position, right? They could try to set up maybe outside Verbove, but they're still going to have the same problems of their supply lines being pretty exposed. So again, this map and this statement about 7 kilometers, I think it's more paranoia than anything else. The chances of a 10 hour, if Ukraine can advance 7 kilometers in 10 hours, it would represent a total collapse of the Russian fighting force, based on historic trends. Now, when we look over to another rumor, this is actually reported supposedly via the person running Igor Girkin's account. Girkin himself is, I believe, still in detention in Russia, but someone is running his account, and Girkin is reporting that Ukrainians are attempting to break through the remaining parts of the Sordovikin line with small assault groups supported by armored vehicles, and they've reached the northern part of Verbove. But this sounds like a reconnaissance element, right? A small assault group and armored vehicles, probably recon. So it says it was destroyed by heavy artillery fire from Russian forces. My suspicion is that it's more like retreated when it encountered Russian forces. In Novopokrovka, right, Ukraine is continuing to expand what they're calling its bridgehead. So it sounds like they're reporting that Ukraine is in fact in the village of Novopokrovka. You can see here, this is reporting the entire village is contested, and that they probably are referring to this area here. So there may be some expansion in the next 24 or 48 hours officially, if this rumor mill is true. And then the northeast section of Novopokrovka is currently under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, even though they are subject to fire from Russian artillery. So this is purporting that here is actually fully controlled by Ukrainian forces. Again, if this rumor is to be believed. But I think all in all, it sounds like the situation for Russian troops feels pretty dire. Again, you can see here, this is looks like a Rybar map, but you can see that significant, right? This is more in line with what we were talking about. These yellow regions represent where Ukraine is operating, right? Operating with a foothold inside Verbove proper, as well as securing positions to the south. I think this is probably most likely the best representation of reality. Getting in, they're into Verbove. I think you're going to see them continue to piece by piece, block by block, advance through this very long village, and then try to secure it and some of the surrounding terrain. And really, I think you'll see Ukraine create a lot of chaos for Russian forces. Anyway, if you're interested, guys, you know that it's Monday, and Monday means that we just dropped the latest issue of the Strategic Sitrep. This is a newsletter that is completely free, only once a week. It's not some mega spam newsletter. And what it is, I launched it because as someone who analyzes military and geopolitical news, there is so much hype, like non-stories that are turned into these big crazy events that don't mean anything, and inaccurate or incomplete reporting where important context is left out in order to make a story more clickable. I created the Strategic Sitrep to cut through the BS about national security issues and give you the actual stories that matter. For example, did you know U.S. intelligence backing Canada's accusation that Indian intelligence assassinated a resident of Canada, what India is calling a Khalistani extremist, Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And this is a major, major diplomatic role, right? To assassinate a resident, I think a Canadian passport holder on Canadian soil is an extreme provocation. And the fact that this isn't getting more coverage is absolutely preposterous. And so not only do we give you an unbiased, straightforward report, we also give you the so what, so you understand what it means. And we do this we select just a couple of stories every week that are the absolute most important for you to understand the changing geopolitical landscape. So if you're interested, go to strategicsitrep.com and sign up for free today. Link is in the description. So the other thing that I thought was worth talking about, again, Institute for the Study of War is out here reporting some of these same rumors that the VDV regiments are in danger of being encircled. But as you see, ISW agreeing with my assessment, right? There's no real danger of encirclement of the 56th, but it may be cut off depending on if Ukraine can seize parts of Verbove. And I guess if the regiment really does remain fixed in place, which we've seen an increasing number of rumors about Russian commanders receiving orders to do things like attack, like in Klachivka. Supposedly there were unplanned attacks ordered by Russian troops, which were largely resulted in nothing but pointless casualties. So it wouldn't actually shock me if these regiments are ordered to continue to defend positions long after it's tactically sensible. But there's also some rumors that Ukrainian forces are attempting to bypass Verbove from the north, which I don't think is. I think they're probably trying to occupy perhaps support by fire positions in the north, but I don't think they'll try to bypass Verbove. So the rumors are absolutely flying, and we're going to see how the battle for Verbove shakes out. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. Thank you so much to all of our members of combatvetnews.com, all of our colonel tier members, all of our lieutenant tier members. I couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much, each and every one of you that are members, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.